Good morning, Linda here from Huttons Valley Permaculture. This morning I'm going to be doing a little bit of work here in the vegetable garden before I head out this afternoon to one of my swales. In my last video we harvested some lettuce, and if you remember, the lettuce that I've just removed from here contained quite a few slugs in it, and there's one here now, there's another one right there, and opening up this little plant you can see that there's a snail. The cabbages themselves are looking pretty good, and with those leaves off it should help keep the little pests at bay, I think. In my Battling with Slugs video, which I'll link in the description, one of my viewers in the comments suggested to use 1/4 teaspoon of salt into water in a spray bottle and spray that on your plants, and it should deal with the slugs and the snails, but leave the plant okay. Now, I've just sprayed that little slug and it's not happy at all. Now it's kind of slinking away there. I'll have to wait and see what the results are. The snail's coming to life a little bit too. You can spot that one down there. Maybe I'll give that one a little bit more of a go. Perhaps we'll pop back later and see what we can find. Yeah, that slug's just kind of dropping off down there now. There's another little slug. Make sure we get that one. There's a little slug. Now, by using this salt spray, it means I don't have to go deep into a plant to dig out those slugs, and I'm not damaging it, but I can just give it a squirt and to know that the job's done. What prompted the Battling with Slugs video was when I was giving a bit of attention to these celery plants. They hadn't really grown much in summer, and I was having a look at them and noticed that there were lots of slugs and snails right through the leaves, and they're actually back here again now. It was good to see that the plants really did respond to the application of compost, and I've just added a little bit more yesterday. So they're looking quite good, but that could also be due to the fact that we physically removed the slugs and the snails from the plants. And I can do that easily for these ones that are kind of up in the top area of leaves, and I can give them all a bit of a squish under my boot. Still leaves any that are deep down in the centre of my celery plant. Some that I can see and some that's really hard to see. So with being able to use a spray like this to get those little hard to get pests, you can kind of treat them with this and know that you're not really damaging the centre of the plant. Now, this is the first time I've used it. I have been told that it's not going to affect your plants, but I'm just going to use it and see how we go before sort of guaranteeing that. Now, it's a solution that will wash off with any rain, so kind of continued application will be needed. We're just returning to the first plant I sprayed, and I can't really spot our pests now. Even the little snail that wasn't moving that quickly seems to have gone. So that's looking positive. I've just spotted something very exciting that is a rare occurrence. Hello, look who's up my tree. Oh, he's moving very quickly up there. He's not too keen on being spotted. Often on my walk down the road and back, I'll see koalas, but yeah, not so often in my front yard. Oh, he's found what he wants. He wants those leaves on the tree next to the one he's on. And that's where he'd be happy lodging himself for the day. I'm saying him, I don't really know, but often it's the males that are out scouting around for partners. In the early days when I first established my vegetable garden, I looked out my front window and saw what I thought was a rabbit running across the vegetable garden. So I grabbed my boots and was about to head for the door when I looked out again and saw this rabbit climbing a tree. Now, what rabbit climbs a tree? I thought, what is that? And it turned out to be my first koala in my front yard. Anyway, we'll leave him to go about his business. I might check in a bit later to see what he's up to. And we'll keep on with this pest control. Well, it's pretty good that koalas aren't interested in veggies. I don't have to worry about the koala coming here and raiding my garden anytime soon. Not like their little rabbity friends. But I do have to kind of keep using all the tricks for these slugs and snails, which at this time of year can really devastate things. I can't seem to be keeping the Asian greens going, so I'll give them all a bit of a spray. That one didn't like it. My little koala friend's on the way down again. Being harassed by birds a little bit. He's not happy in the tree he's in. He really wants to get on the other one. But I think I put him off. Yeah, down he comes. Yeah, he's really trying to head over to the gum tree. I think he's a bit nervous with me here. We're doing a bit of a stare off, so we might leave him again. This little plant's got a green caterpillar on it. I wonder if the salt solution does anything to them. Not sure, so I'll hand pick it and move it on. Well, I've been around and done at least all my celery, some of my baby brassicas that are getting affected with the pests, and also some of the lettuce. But I will be keeping this on hand here. It'll take a lot of time to go around spraying everything, but we'll see what happens. And then that will determine whether I bother going around and spraying everything. The next task is this garden bed here. It's where I grow asparagus, there's strawberries, I've got some globe artichoke, and it just needs a little bit of managing. As you can see, there's plenty of weeds in here taking over, and also a bunch of grasses just on this side here. We need to chop back the asparagus at this time of year now that they've kind of yellowed off. All the energy is down in the roots, so we're good to go with clearing that up. There's still a few strawberries in here. This season I've only had enough really to pick them off and kind of eat them straight away. But sometimes I'm not lucky enough to beat the insects to them. Before I started growing asparagus, I didn't realise that they were a plant that was going to spread themselves around. Some of the plants produce these little red berries which contain the seeds, and they seem to blow around the veggie patch if you haven't cleared them out. This one here has quite a few seeds on it. I really haven't been very observant with them, but you sort of squash it, you can see the seeds there. I don't know, maybe the birds spread them around because they seem too big to kind of be blown around. So perhaps the birds eat those little berries and poop them around my garden. Anyway, we'll make some more just there. I've had lots of little plants like this one that's out near my brassica bed that's happily growing there. One of my larger plants I dug up and shared at one of my permaculture groups. Or often I'll just pop them up and wait for someone to say, has anyone got any asparagus? And I can share those around. And actually these ones are going to a new home tomorrow. Now I might just make a start on this end. It looks less daunting than the other end. Now it's also a good time of year to get your little strawberry runners and replant those. And I've got an idea for starting a new bed down the other end of the garden. So I'll just park all of these up here for the moment and we'll get to that another day. Now, I might just chop those off. Get all the weeds out. Early summer, what I did was just chuck straight manure around this garden, around the strawberries, and they really responded well to that. I didn't have sufficient compost to be putting compost around this whole garden, so I just kind of put that manure around, and it's kind of breaking up a little bit now. And I've been kind of breaking up those pieces so that the soil life can integrate them a bit better. But what I might do around where my asparagus crowns are, once I've weeded it, I might just give it a good dose of compost. I'll just be careful getting the weeds out right next to the crowns so that I don't damage anything. Okay, now we've got the little crown down here. I'll just kind of uncover it so I know exactly where we are. Looks like this one's kind of on its own. They might be a couple of different plants actually. Normally you can kind of pick where the crown is, but I don't want to keep digging, but I'll just get compost and cover that whole area. All right, I think those plants will be happier next season. We've got comfrey at the edge of this garden, so I'll just chop that back. It has kind of finished for the season. It won't be kicking back in until spring, so I'll just remove those leaves and I can put them in the compost or feed them to the chickens or just use them as a mulch around. Just next to us here, we've got one of two dahlias in this garden bed. I did have three, but the other one didn't seem to come back this year. Now, you can dig up your dahlia bulbs and replant them each year, but I tend to just kind of leave them in. There's another one here that the birds have seemed to destroy a little bit. These artichoke flowers are long gone, but the new pups have come up. Each season they kind of put up these new little plants, which you can split off. See, there's another little one here, and there's another one over the back there. You can split those and spread them around. And I did have these plants in a number of spots in the garden, some of which have just died off, but if I was enthusiastic, I'd be spreading them around, but I think I'll leave them just in this spot for the season, but just tidy up these flowers. Well, this end is mostly done. There's lots of gaps, so what I think I might do is with these strawberries that are sneaking across the path, I might dig them up and spread them in the little gaps. I'm disturbing the locals once again. Sorry, buddy. This plant, which I'm just uncovering here now, has been struggling of late. It became uncovered and kind of dried out and wasn't doing so well. But we've covered over with a bit of compost during the year, and you can see you've got some small ferns coming there. And there's another little point with another one. So now that I've got that cleared of weeds, I'll be really putting the compost on thickly around that to help support its growth for next season. Now, these ferns are quite green still, which means it's still putting the energy down into its little root system. So for this plant, I'm not going to chop it back just yet. We'll wait till that yellows off. Now, weeding in where the asparagus plants are, I'm just going to go a little bit carefully so that I don't affect the crowns. I'll pull out the strawberries from around them as well, might help. A few more ferns to cut down and then it will look like we've made a bit of difference. I'll leave these up a bit high so I can kind of spot where the plants are, and then I'll deal with those weeds around them. I'll get some compost around these. Well, I'm calling it for the day. Not as much of this garden done as I would have liked. It's actually a lot bigger project than I had kind of first imagined, really. But we've made a start and I think that's great, but it just highlights to me that I'll have to coordinate my garden here with my new strawberry bed because there's going to be plenty of plants left over. The strawberries seem to run into the middle of the path here, and you can see they've kind of evacuated that side, and next to the path's a bit moister, I think, so they tend to head there. But I'll thin those out and use those down the other end of my garden, but also sort of fill in those patchy spaces. Definitely a work in progress. This morning I'm adding my top swale. Recently there was guys from the electrical company cutting down the trees, which has left a big pile of material to deal with. There's all of these leaves and branches here that some of it I will take to shred, but others I'll just use as mulch, cut up a little bit finer and perhaps put around some of my trees in the swale. They have also left these logs, some small and some larger, that I need to deal with. A lot of this material I'm just going to use to line the swale like I did with my roadside swale recently, and let it decompose and kind of break down in place there. I don't need it for firewood, I've got plenty, so we'll just use it to help hold moisture and improve the soil. Here's a great example of a log that's been sitting on the ground for a number of years, and it's just kind of disintegrating, and it won't be long till that whole log is just gone back to the soil to feed all the soil life. You can see the little worms in there, loving it. I'll probably disturb them. There's even little wormy eggs. That's what it's all about. The lignins from woody materials feed fungi, and the fungi is what's beneficial in the soils for productive tree species. Grasses are more bacterial dominated soils, but your trees, like this beautiful peach tree, love fungal dominated soils. But that's not what I want to get done today. A few years ago, I felt like I was managing my swale growth well and keeping it sort of pruned and under control. But especially after last year, where I had to concentrate on renovating my house, I didn't do anything out in the swales, and some of these trees have just doubled in size. These acacias can just burst into life and just take off, and before you know it, they're absolutely huge. This here is where I chopped this tree a couple of years ago to keep the size down, but in the interim it has just taken off with these huge side shoots, so now there's like about 4 trees all in one. I'm slowly coming to the conclusion that the strategy I've used in the past in my swales is failing me. I used to believe in dealing with all the materials I've cut down from 1 or 2 trees, deal with that straight away before you get to the next tree. But it leaves a lot of these trees just continuing to grow, and with the rate of growth, it just almost becomes unmanageable. So what I'm going to have to do is just get around, cut these trees, and then deal with the remaining branches and logs down the track. So today, instead of dealing with what's already down already, I want to take this tree down before it gets any bigger. And just behind it is actually a Tagasasti tree that doesn't look particularly well. It's not going to have much in the way of flowers, so there's no point leaving it there. So I might just take that one down as well. This Tagasasti, on the other hand, is what you'd call a healthy looking tree. I have pruned it a number of times because it is next to my apricot trees. They do grow back fairly vigorously, as you can see here. This is the apricot tree. So following flowering, I will again give that tree a bit of a severe pruning. You can see in here where I've pruned it in previous years and where it's just kind of shot back up again. Now, to help me get all of that done, I've been out and bought myself a pole pruner. Now, I know a number of you have told me in the past that's what I should get myself, but it wasn't until I saw those guys at work with theirs that I saw what sort of difference it would make. And it's actually life-changing to be able to get to those high branches. Now, I've also gone out and got myself a helmet. I don't want any of that sort of crashing down on my head, so I've kind of got a bit more safety equipment there. So together with my regular chainsaw and this pole pruner, I'm hoping to get down a couple of trees today. Now, before I can get the trees down though, I want to clear the space around them so I've got nothing to trip me up when the branches are falling down and I want to move out the way. So I'm going to clear up this space and then we'll get to work. Well, that's half the tree down. Now, I can't say managing that long pole was easy for me. I'm kind of 5'3", 52 kilos, and that thing with it out that far was quite hard to manage. But kind of resting on the branches and using them as a support to get through it really did help. We only had a couple of hang-ups, so that wasn't too bad. I'm going to move all of this before we take down the rest of the tree, and then I can start on the Tagasasti. Given what's left to come down, I might just get my regular chainsaw onto this, and I think I'll be able to manage the Tagasasti with the regular chainsaw. There's not a lot of weight up in those branches, not like this tree. So I think if we just kind of chop those branches, and that should safely come down. We've got those 2 trees down now. While my chainsaw is going, I think I might just take these few trees down as well, because all they're going to do is just keep getting bigger. So learning my lesson, I'll get them down now. Well, there's a few more trees that aren't going to be a problem in the future. And while these trees were a growing problem in my swale area and also in my paddocks, now that they're down, they become a solution for other areas. They can help build the soil. And while it does look like there is a bit of work ahead of me, I just kind of potter away at these projects and slowly get them done. Although I really should be working on those trees next. Well, that's it for today's video. I'm just going to potter away, chopping this up and getting some of it onto my swales. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.